Welcome back to Liberty Coin USA, another exciting coin collecting video. Today, we're exploring the fascinating world of Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coins of the United States of America, coins that millions of people have handled, collected, and searched for over the decades. Some Lincoln Memorial cents are common, but certain rare dates, mint marks, doubled dies, off-center strikes, missing design details, and other mint errors can make individual coins highly desirable to collectors. In today's collector market, exceptional examples can command hundreds, thousands, or in extraordinary cases, much more, depending on rarity, condition, and verified sales. In this video, we'll introduce the history of the Lincoln Memorial cent, examine its unique features, explain what makes certain coins valuable, and discuss the factors that influence their current market value. Let's get started. First up, 1970s Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin struck at the San Francisco Mint, and it is a coin that has attracted attention from collectors because of its famous date varieties and its potential value in higher grades. The Lincoln cent is one of the most collected United States coins, and the 1970s issue is especially interesting because collectors often search for the small date variety. A coin sitting in an old collection or a forgotten box could possibly be worth much more than its 1-cent face value, depending on its variety, condition, quality, and overall eye appeal. The story of the 1970s Lincoln cent begins with the long-running Lincoln cent series, which was introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. The Lincoln portrait was created by Victor David Brenner, and it became one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. On the reverse of the coin, you can see the Lincoln Memorial, which had appeared on the cent. Since 1959, this design remained in use until 2009, when the United States Mint introduced several different reverse designs to celebrate the bicentennial of Lincoln birth. The 1970s cent, therefore, belongs to an important period in the history of the Lincoln Memorial cent, and it represents an era when United States cents were still widely used in everyday commerce. The S mint mark is one of the first details collectors should look for. This coin, the letter S, identifies the San Francisco Mint, and it appears below the date on the obverse of the cent. The San Francisco Mint produced many interesting Lincoln cents during the 20th century, and some of its coins became important collector pieces. The 1970s cent is particularly notable because of the different date styles that exist for the year. When examining your coin, do not simply look at the S mint mark and assume that every 1970s cent has the same value. The shape and appearance of the numerals in the date can be extremely important, especially when determining whether the coin is a large date or a small date variety. One of the most important features associated with the 1970s Lincoln cent is the small date variety. This variety is considered much scarcer than the more common large date version, and collectors have searched for it for decades. The difference can be subtle, and it requires careful examination of the date on the small date variety. The numerals have a noticeably different appearance, and the relationship between the digits can help experienced collectors identify it. The most useful area to study is the shape and positioning of the 7, as well as the overall appearance of the date. Because the difference can be difficult to see with the naked eye, collectors often use magnification and compare their coin with reliable reference photographs before deciding which variety they have. The composition of the 1970s Lincoln cent is also part of its historical importance. During this period, United States cents were made from a copper-rich composition rather than the copper-plated zinc composition used on modern cents. The 1970 cent contains copper along with other metals, and this gives many examples their familiar reddish-brown or brown appearance, depending on how the coin has been stored and handled. A bright red example that has retained much of its original color can be far more desirable to collectors than a heavily circulated brown example. This is why two coins with exactly the same date and mint mark can have dramatically different values when they are examined by collectors or professional grading services. Condition is another major factor when discussing the market value of a 1970s Lincoln cent. A coin described as very good has experienced significant circulation and will normally show wear on the highest areas of the design on a Lincoln cent. This can include the hair details on Lincoln portrait and other raised portions of the design. However, collectors who are searching for valuable examples often pay much more attention to uncirculated coins with strong original surfaces and attractive color. The terms brown, red, and red are commonly used in Lincoln cent collecting, and color can make a major difference in the market price of copper coins. A circulated coin may have only modest value, while a rare variety in exceptional condition can be worth substantially more. The 1970 cent also has an interesting connection to the world of proof coins. The San Francisco Mint produced proof Lincoln cents during this era, and proof coins were specially prepared for collectors. These coins generally have sharper details and specially prepared surfaces compared with ordinary circulation strikes. If you have a 1970 cent with proof characteristics, it is important to determine exactly what type of coin you have before estimating its value. A proof coin should not simply be judged using the same standards as a circulated business strike. This is one reason professional grading references and specialist Lincoln cent guides are useful when researching a potentially valuable example. So what could a 1970 Lincoln cent be worth in the current market? The answer depends heavily on the exact variety, condition, color, certification, and demand. A common circulated 1970 cent is generally not a high dollar coin, and its value can remain close to a modest collector premium. However, the scarce small date variety can command considerably more attention, especially when it is preserved in high grades. Coins with strong original red color and excellent surfaces can bring much higher prices than ordinary circulated pieces. Auction results for certified examples can reach significant amounts when rarity and exceptional condition come together. Therefore, it is important not to believe that every 1970 cent is automatically worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The valuable feature must first be identified, and then the condition must be evaluated carefully. If you have one of these coins at home, the best approach is to avoid cleaning it or polishing the surface. Cleaning can damage the original appearance and may reduce collector value. Instead, place the coin under good lighting and use a magnifying glass to examine the date, mint mark, and overall surface. Look carefully at the 7 in the date and compare the coin with trusted references showing the 1970 large date and small date varieties. Also inspect the coin for scratches, stains, discoloration, spots, or signs of harsh cleaning. If the coin appears to be an unusual variety and has excellent preservation, it may be worth having it examined by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service before making any assumptions about its value. The 1970 Lincoln Memorial cent is a wonderful example of how small detail can transform an ordinary-looking coin into an interesting collectible. The date alone does not guarantee a fortune, but the small date variety makes this issue especially exciting for collectors. The mint mark confirms its San Francisco origin, while the copper composition connects it with an important period in American coin history. Condition, color, surface quality, and authentication all play major roles when determining market value. If you discover a 1970 Lincoln cent in your collection, take a moment to inspect it carefully, because the difference between a common example and a scarce variety can be surprisingly subtle. Remember that coin values change with market demand, and actual selling prices can differ greatly between grades and varieties. So before selling a potentially rare 1970 cent, make sure you have correctly identified the variety and condition, and then compare it with recent sales of similar certified coins. This little 1-cent piece may be more interesting than it first appears, and that is exactly what makes coin collecting such an exciting hobby. Next up, 1971 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin, and this is a coin that can attract attention from collectors because of its age, history, design, mint mark, and condition. The 1971 Lincoln cent was produced more than 5 decades ago, and it belongs to the famous Lincoln Memorial cent series that became one of the longest-running designs in American coinage. When you find a 1971 cent in fine condition, it is important to understand that its value depends on several factors, including its exact condition, originality, surface quality, color, and collector demand. The D mint mark tells us that this coin was produced at the Denver Mint, and although most 1971 cents are common, there are examples that can become more desirable when they have exceptional preservation or unusual characteristics. The history of this coin goes back to the beginning of the Lincoln cent design in 1909, when the United States Mint introduced a cent featuring President Abraham Lincoln. The portrait was created by Victor David Brenner, and the design became one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. In 1959, the reverse of the Lincoln cent changed to show the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and this new reverse was created to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln birth. The Lincoln Memorial design remained on the cent for decades, and the 1971D coin is part of this important chapter in American numismatic history. When looking at the reverse, you can see the Lincoln Memorial surrounded by the denomination and the words United States of America, while the obverse displays the familiar portrait of Lincoln. The D mint mark is one of the most important identifying features of this particular coin. The letter D appears below the date on the obverse and indicates production at the Denver Mint. The Denver Mint was one of the major facilities responsible for producing circulating United States coins. During this period, millions of Lincoln cents were struck there, and the 1971D issue was intended primarily for everyday commerce. This means that many examples were handled by the public and eventually developed the normal signs of circulation. A coin in fine condition can show noticeable wear across the raised portions of Lincoln portrait and other details, while still retaining a clear overall design. Collectors should therefore examine the date, mint mark lettering, and major design elements carefully when identifying an example. The composition of the 1971D Lincoln cent is another interesting part of its story. During this period, the United States cent was still made primarily from a copper-based, unlike the modern copper-plated zinc cents that became standard many years later. The copper composition gives many surviving 1971D cents their familiar reddish-brown or brown appearance. Depending on how they were stored and handled over time, exposure to air, moisture, chemicals, and other environmental conditions can change the color of copper coins. This is why collectors pay close attention to the original color and surface of an old Lincoln cent. A coin with attractive original surfaces can be more desirable than a coin that has been cleaned, scratched, stained, or otherwise damaged. When we talk about a 1971D Lincoln cent in fine condition, we are talking about a coin that has experienced noticeable circulation, but still retains substantial recognizable detail. Fine condition generally means that the major features remain visible, although the highest areas have developed moderate wear. On the obverse, Lincoln portrait will show wear on the hair and facial details, while the reverse will also show wear on the Lincoln Memorial and surrounding lettering. A normal circulated 1971D cent in fine condition is generally not considered a major rarity, and collectors should be cautious about claims that every old Lincoln cent is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The real excitement comes from identifying unusual varieties, errors, or exceptionally preserved examples. One of the unique aspects of the 1971D Lincoln cent is the possibility of varieties and minting characteristics that collectors may investigate closely. Lincoln cent specialists often study small details in lettering, numerals, and design elements, because differences created during production can sometimes become collectible varieties. A genuine mint error can also make a coin more valuable, depending on the type and severity of the error. However, normal damage that happened after the coin left the mint should not be confused with a mint error. Scratches, dents, discoloration, and flattened areas caused by circulation are usually considered damage rather than valuable errors. Anyone examining a possible unusual 1971D cent should compare it with trusted references and consider professional authentication when the potential value is significant. Now, let us discuss the current market value in dollars. A regular 1971D Lincoln cent in fine circulated condition generally has only a modest collector value and should not automatically be considered a rare high-dollar coin. The exact value can vary depending on the quality and market conditions, and many circulated examples trade for only a small premium over face value. In contrast, certified uncirculated examples can bring substantially higher prices when they have strong surfaces, attractive color, and excellent preservation. The biggest values are normally associated with coins that have exceptional grades, rare varieties, or significant mint errors. Therefore, if someone claims that an ordinary fine condition 1971D cent is automatically worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, the claim should be treated with caution. If you discover a 1971D Lincoln cent in your collection, the first step is careful inspection. Do not clean the coin, because cleaning can permanently damage the original surface and may reduce its desirability among collectors. Hold the coin by its edges and examine it under good lighting. A magnifying glass can help you inspect the date, mint mark, lettering, and surface for unusual characteristics. Look for evidence of strong circulation, such as flattened design, details, scratches, and discoloration. Then, check whether the coin has any genuine mint-made error that appears unusual compared with normal examples. If the coin seems especially unusual or valuable, consider having it examined by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service. The 1971D Lincoln Memorial Cent is valuable as a piece of American history, even when its financial value is modest. It represents an era when copper cents were commonly used in everyday transactions, and when the Lincoln Memorial reverse was a familiar part of American life. For collectors, the coin provides an opportunity to study the history of the Lincoln cent, and to learn how mint marks condition varieties and errors can influence value. A fine condition example may not be a fortune, but it can still be an enjoyable addition to a collection, and a reminder of an earlier period of American coinage. The story becomes even more interesting when a collector discovers an unusually preserved example or genuine mint error. In conclusion, the 1971D Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin is an interesting coin to examine because of its history. Denver mint mark copper-based composition and place in the famous Lincoln cent series. A normal fine condition example is generally not a major rarity, and its current market value is usually modest rather than an enormous amount of money. The possibility of higher value comes from exceptional condition, unusual varieties, significant mint errors, and other characteristics that collectors actively seek. If you have a 1971D cent, do not judge it only by its age. Instead, examine the coin carefully and identify its condition and characteristics. Before estimating its value, the world of coin collecting teaches us that even a 1-cent piece can carry an important story, and sometimes a small detail can make a big difference in the collector market. Next up, the fascinating 1982 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin with no mint mark. And this is one of the most interesting years in the entire Lincoln Memorial cent series, because 1982 was the year when the United States Mint changed the composition of the cent from the traditional copper-based alloy to copper-plated zinc. The absence of a mint mark is an important feature because Philadelphia struck cents traditionally carried no mint mark, and in 1982 some no mint mark cents were also produced at West Point and San Francisco, which makes the exact origin impossible to determine from the coin alone. According to professional numismatic references, the 1982 issue is famous because collectors can find different date sizes and different compositions, and an uncirculated example can become especially interesting when its variety and preservation are identified correctly. The history of the Lincoln cent goes back to 1909, when the United States Mint introduced the famous Lincoln portrait created by Victor David Brenner. The original Lincoln cent became one of the most recognizable coins in American history, and in 1959 the reverse design changed to the Lincoln Memorial to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln birth. The Lincoln Memorial reverse remained on the cent for many decades, and the 1982 coin belongs to an important transitional period in this long history. Obverse shows Abraham Lincoln facing right, while the reverse displays the Lincoln Memorial with the denomination and national inscriptions around it. The 1982 cent is therefore more than an ordinary 1-cent coin, because it represents a major change in the production history of American coinage. One of the most important things to understand about the 1982 no mint mark cent is that there was not just one version of this coin. In fact, 1982 produced several major varieties involving both composition and date size. Some examples were made from the traditional bronze composition, while others were made from copper-plated zinc. The bronze pieces weigh about 3.11 grams, while the copper-plated zinc pieces weigh about 2.50 grams. This difference in weight provides collectors with one useful way to investigate the coin. Although a proper scale and careful identification are recommended, the 1982 transition created a remarkable collecting opportunity because the mint was moving from one composition to another during the same calendar year. The date is another major feature that collectors should examine very carefully. The 1982 Lincoln cent exists with both large date and small date varieties, and these differences can be subtle to an inexperienced collector. The small date variety can be particularly desirable when it is found in high grade and made from the scarcer bronze composition. Professional numismatic information identifies the 1982 no mint mark bronze small date as one of the most difficult memorial cent varieties to find in high-grade condition. Examples become increasingly difficult to locate as the grade rises, and this is where the potential for substantial collector value can appear. Therefore, anyone who owns an uncirculated 1982 no mint mark cent should not simply look at the date and assume it is a common coin. The date, size, and composition should both be investigated before estimating its value. The composition of the coin is perhaps the most exciting part of the 1982 story. For decades, the Lincoln cent had been produced from a copper-rich alloy. But rising copper prices created pressure to find a less expensive material. The United States Mint eventually moved toward copper-plated zinc for the cent, and 1982 became the transition year. This means that two coins that look almost identical can have very different weights. Compositions: a bronze 1982 cent is heavier, while a copper-plated zinc example is lighter. Collector can use an accurate digital scale as one part of the identification process. But weight alone should never be used as the only proof, because damaged coins and environmental effects can influence measurements. The combination of weight, date, size, and surface characteristics is much more useful when identifying a potential rare variety. Now, let us talk about the uncirculated condition. Mentioned for this coin, an uncirculated Lincoln cent has not experienced the normal wear associated with circulation, and it should retain strong original detail across the design. However, uncirculated does not automatically mean rare or extremely valuable. A coin can be uncirculated and still be common, while another coin of the same date can be much more valuable because of a rare variety or exceptional grade. Collectors also pay close attention to the color of copper coins. A coin described as red can retain much of its original bright copper color, while red, brown, and brown describe progressively different levels of original color preservation. This can have a major effect on market value, especially at high grades. A clean, attractive original surface with minimal marks can make an uncirculated 1982 cent much more desirable. When discussing the current market value in dollars, it is important to avoid claiming that every 1982 no-mint mark cent is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. A common uncirculated 1982 cent may have only a modest collector premium, while exceptional certified examples can bring considerably more. The real opportunity comes when the coin is correctly identified as a scarce variety, and especially when it is a bronze small date. In very high-grade professional auction records show that a 1982 bronze small date has reached nearly $10,000 in an exceptionally high certified grade. Bronze large date has also reached a much lower, but still notable auction level. These are exceptional results, and should not be treated as the normal value of an ordinary uncirculated coin. Another important feature is the possibility of double die characteristics and other collectible die varieties. The 1982 Lincoln cent has several recognized varieties, and specialist collectors often examine the lettering, date, and other design elements under magnification. A genuine mint-made variety can be valuable, while damage caused after the coin entered circulation normally has much less collector importance. This distinction is extremely important because many coins develop scratches, dents, distortions, and unusual marks during decades of handling, and those features are not necessarily mint errors. If your coin appears unusual, it is better to compare it with professional references and seek an expert opinion before assuming that a strange mark makes the coin rare. If you have an uncirculated 1982 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, there are several things you should do before deciding what it is worth. First, avoid cleaning the coin, because polishing or chemical cleaning can permanently damage the original surface and reduce its collector appeal. Next, examine the date closely and determine whether it appears to be the large date or small date variety. Then consider weighing the coin with a precise scale to determine whether it is closer to the traditional bronze weight or the light copper-plated zinc weight. The coin should also be inspected for original color, surface marks, and possible die varieties. If the coin appears to be a rare bronze small date or another important variety, professional authentication and grading could be worthwhile, because certified condition can make a major difference in the market. In conclusion, the 1982 Lincoln Memorial 1 cent coin with no mint mark is one of the most fascinating coins for collectors because it comes from a major transition in United States cent production. The coin can exist in different compositions and date varieties, and the no mint mark does not by itself make the coin rare. The most exciting possibilities involve the bronze small date variety, especially when the coin is genuinely uncirculated and preserved at a very high grade. Professional references show that exceptional examples can reach thousands of dollars, while ordinary examples may be worth far less. So, if you have a 1982 no mint mark Lincoln cent, do not clean it, and do not judge it only by its age. Check the date, size, check the weight, inspect the color and surfaces, and compare the coin with reliable references. The 1982 Lincoln cent proves that even a 1 cent coin can tell an important story about American history, manufacturing technology, and the changing economics of coin production next up. The 1983 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin, which is an interesting United States coin from the early years of the copper-plated zinc cent era, the D-Mint mark, tells us that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint, and the 1983 date makes it especially interesting because the United States Mint had recently completed the major transition from traditional bronze cents to copper-plated zinc cents. The 1983 cent, therefore, belongs to an important period in Lincoln cent history. A coin described as being in very nice condition can attract collector attention when it has strong details, clean surfaces, attractive color, and minimal signs of damage. However, it is important to understand that most 1983 cents are not automatically rare or worth huge amounts of money. The real value depends on the exact variety, grade, surface quality, and whether the coin has a recognized mint era or collectible variety. The history of the Lincoln cent began in 1909 when the United States Mint introduced the famous portrait of President Abraham Lincoln. The portrait was designed by Victor David Brenner, and it quickly became one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. For the first half of the 20th century, the Lincoln cent used different reverse designs, and in 1959, the Lincoln Memorial appeared on the reverse to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln birth. The Memorial reverse continued for many years, and the 1983 cent is part of this long-running design period. On the front of the coin you can see Lincoln facing right, while the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" surround his portrait. The date appears below, and the D-Mint mark is positioned beneath the date. The D-Mint mark is one of the first details that collectors should inspect on this coin. The letter D identifies the Denver Mint and helps distinguish this coin from cents produced at Philadelphia or San Francisco. During the early 1980s, Denver was producing large quantities of cents for circulation, and millions of 1983 Lincoln cents entered everyday commerce. As a result, many examples were eventually worn down by handling and spending. Finding a 1983 cent in very nice condition can therefore be more interesting than finding a heavily circulated example. A collector should look for sharp design details, clear lettering, and a pleasing original surface, while also checking for scratches, stains, corrosion, or other damage that could reduce the value of the coin. One of the most important historical details about the 1983 cent is its copper-plated zinc composition. The United States Mint had changed the cent composition in 1982 because the rising cost of copper made the traditional bronze cent more expensive. To produce the new cents used a zinc core covered by a thin layer copper. This change reduced production costs while keeping the familiar appearance of the Lincoln cent. The 1983 cent was therefore produced during the early years of this new composition. Collectors can sometimes identify these coins by their lighter weight compared with older bronze cents. A normal 1983 cent weighs about 2.50 grams when originally produced, and this is an important difference from older copper Lincoln cents. The condition of your 1983 cent is another major factor when considering its market value. A very nice coin may have attractive surfaces and strong details, but collectors and professional graders use specific grading standards to determine the actual grade. An uncirculated coin should show little or no wear from circulation, while a circulated coin will normally have some loss of detail on the highest parts of Lincoln portrait and the memorial design. Even among uncirculated coins, there can be major differences in value because of surface marks, strike quality, and overall eye appeal. A coin with bright original surfaces and minimal contact marks can be more desirable than another coin of the same grade with scratches, spots, or discoloration. Collectors should also pay attention to possible varieties and mint errors. When examining a 1983 Lincoln cent, a genuine mint-made error can sometimes increase the value significantly depending on its type and severity. However, it is important to separate true mint errors from damage that occurred after the coin left the mint. Scratches, dents, gouges, environmental damage, and discoloration are normally not valuable mint errors. A collector examining a possible unusual coin should use magnification and compare the feature with reliable numismatic references. Some varieties can involve doubled design elements or other small differences that are difficult to see without close examination. This is why experienced Lincoln cent collectors often study their coins carefully rather than relying only on the date and mint mark. Now let us discuss the current market value in dollars. The ordinary 1983 Lincoln cent is generally a common coin, and a typical circulated example is not normally a major high dollar rarity. its value can be relatively modest, depending on condition, and collector demand. A very nice uncirculated example can command a higher price than a worn circulated example, and coins with exceptional grades can attract much stronger interest. The largest prices are usually reserved for coins with important varieties, rare mint errors, or extraordinary certified grades. Therefore, it would be misleading to say that every 1983 cent is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The market must be evaluated according to the exact coin that you have and recent sales of comparable examples. If you have a 1983 Lincoln cent that appears to be in very nice condition, there are several simple steps you can take to investigate it. Do not clean or polish the coin, because cleaning can damage the surface and reduce collector appeal. Hold the coin by its edges and inspect it under good lighting. Use a magnifying glass to examine the date, mint mark, lettering, and design details. Look for strong original surfaces and check whether there are unusual features that appear to have been created during the minting process. An accurate digital scale can also confirm the expected weight of a copper-plated zinc cent. If the coin appears to be unusually well preserved or has a possible genuine mint error, professional examination can help determine whether it deserves certification. The 1983 Lincoln Memorial cent is important not because every example is rare, but because it represents an important moment in the development of American coinage. It belongs to the early copper-plated zinc period, and it carries the famous Lincoln Memorial design that had already become a familiar part of American currency. The D mint mark connects the coin to the Denver Mint, while its composition reflects the economic pressures that changed the cent during the early 1980s. A nice example can be enjoyable for both beginner collectors and experienced numismatists, because it provides an opportunity to study condition, composition, mint marks, and varieties in one small coin. The coin also reminds us that ordinary pocket change can sometimes preserve an interesting piece of American history. In conclusion, the 1983 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin is a fascinating coin to examine, especially when it has very nice preservation. The D mint mark confirms its Denver origin, and the copper-plated zinc composition connects it to one of the most important changes in modern Lincoln cent history. A normal 1983 cent is generally not considered a major rarity, and its market value is usually modest unless it has exceptional condition, a recognized variety, or a genuine mint error. If you believe your coin could be valuable, inspect it carefully without cleaning it, and compare its condition with reliable grading standards. Check the date, mint mark, weight, surfaces, and possible varieties before making a value estimate. The most important lesson is that age alone does not determine value, and a coin becomes truly interesting when rarity, condition, and collector demand come together. Next up, the 1984 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin with no mint mark. And this coin comes from an important period in the history of the American cent. The absence of a mint mark normally indicates production at the Philadelphia Mint, and the 1984 Lincoln cent belongs to the copper-plated zinc era that began during the major composition change of 1982. A coin described as being in fantastic condition can certainly attract collector attention, especially if it has strong original surfaces, sharp details, attractive color, and very little evidence of circulation. However, the date and lack of a mint mark alone do not make every 1984 cent a rare, high-value coin. The real interest comes from the condition of the individual coin, as well as possible varieties, mint errors, and unusual characteristics that may separate an ordinary example from a more desirable collectible. The history behind this coin begins with the introduction of the Lincoln cent in 1909, when the United States Mint placed President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse of the 1-cent coin. The portrait was designed by Victor David Brenner, and it became one of the most famous portraits ever used on American currency. In 1959, the reverse of the cent changed from the wheat ears design to the Lincoln Memorial design, and this change celebrated the 150th anniversary of Lincoln birth. The Lincoln Memorial reverse remained in use for decades, and the 1984 cent represents an important part of that long period. When you look closely at the coin, you can see Lincoln portrait on the front with the date and liberty, while the reverse features the Lincoln Memorial, along with the denomination and the words United States of America. The lack of a mint mark is another important identifying feature of the 1984 Lincoln cent. Philadelphia produced large quantities of cents during this era, and coins from Philadelphia traditionally did not carry a mint mark. This means that the absence of a letter below the date is completely normal for a 1984 Philadelphia cent, and it should not automatically be considered an error or rarity. The coin should still be examined carefully, because collectors often search for unusual die characteristics, and varieties, a genuine mint-made variety, can sometimes create additional collector interest, while normal scratches, dents, stains, or other damage are usually not valuable. Varieties. The key is to determine whether an unusual feature was created during the manufacturing process, or whether it happened later, while the coin was being handled or stored. The composition of the 1984 cent is also an important part of its history. By 1984, the United States Mint was producing cents with a zinc core covered by a thin layer of copper. This composition had been introduced in 1982 as the price of copper increased, and the traditional bronze cent became more expensive to manufacture. The copper-plated zinc composition allowed the mint to reduce production costs, while maintaining the familiar appearance of the Lincoln cent. A normal 1984 cent weighs approximately 2.50 grams. When properly preserved, this is significantly lighter than the older bronze cents that weigh about 3.11 grams. The difference in weight can be useful for collectors who are investigating an old cent and trying to determine its composition. Fantastic condition can make a major difference when collecting Lincoln cents, but it is important to understand that appearance and professional grade are not always the same thing. A coin may look beautiful to the eye while still having small contact marks that influence its official grade. Professional grading considers factors such as wear, surface preservation, strike quality, and overall appearance. An uncirculated coin should not show the normal wear caused by circulation, and a truly exceptional example can have strong design details and attractive original surfaces. Collectors may also pay attention to the copper color and whether the coin has retained its original appearance. A clean, bright coin that has never been harshly treated can be more desirable than a coin that has been polished or chemically cleaned. One of the most interesting features collectors can investigate on the 1984 Lincoln cent is the possibility of recognized varieties and double die characteristics. Some Lincoln cents from different years have collectible differences that can be seen in the lettering, date, or other parts of the design. These features can be very small, and magnification is often useful when examining them. A true double die is created during the die-making process and is different from ordinary machine doubling or damage caused by circulation. Correct identification is extremely important because a coin with a genuine recognized variety can have a different market value from a normal example. Before assuming that a strange mark is valuable, it is best to compare the coin with reliable references and professional photographs. When it comes to the current market value in dollars, the 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln cent should be judged realistically. A normal circulated example is generally common and does not usually command a large premium over face value. An uncirculated example in nice condition can have a higher collector value, and particularly attractive certified pieces may sell for more depending on grade and market demand. The biggest prices are normally associated with exceptional certified grades, recognized varieties, or significant mint errors, rather than ordinary examples. The exact value can change over time, so recent auction results and reputable dealer listings should be considered when estimating a coin value. A claim that every 1984 no-mint mark cent is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars would be misleading, because most examples are far more common. If you have a 1984 Lincoln cent that looks fantastic, the safest way to examine it is without cleaning or polishing. The surface cleaning can permanently change the original surface and may reduce collector appeal. Hold the coin carefully by its edges and inspect both sides under good lighting. A magnifying glass can help you examine the date, lettering, mint area, and possible doubled features. You can also use a precise scale to check whether the coin is close to the expected copper-plated zinc weight. If the coin has strong original surfaces, exceptional preservation, or a possible recognized variety, it may be worthwhile to have it examined by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service. Certification can help establish authenticity and condition, and it can make comparison with other market examples much easier. The 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial cent is therefore an interesting combination of American history, manufacturing history, and coin collecting tradition. It represents the early years of the copper-plated zinc composition and continues the famous Lincoln Memorial reverse that had already been used for more than 2 decades. By that time, the lack of a mint mark points toward Philadelphia production and is normal rather than automatically indicating a rare error. A fantastic condition example can can still be attractive to collectors, especially when the surfaces are original. The details are sharp. The possibility of a collectible variety or genuine mint error makes close inspection worthwhile, but every unusual-looking mark should be carefully verified before assigning a high value. In conclusion, the 1984 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin with no mint mark is a fascinating piece from an important period of American coinage. A normal 1984 Philadelphia cent is generally common, but a truly exceptional example can be more desirable. Because condition plays a major role in the Lincoln cent market, the coin features the historic portrait of Abraham Lincoln and the famous Lincoln Memorial reverse, while its copper-plated zinc composition reflects the economic changes that affected United States coin production during the early 1980s. If you own one in fantastic condition, do not clean it, and do not assume a huge value simply because it is old. Instead, examine the date, surfaces, weight, color, and design details, and compare the coin with reliable references. If a genuine rare variety or major mint error is present, then the value can be substantially higher than an ordinary example. This is what makes coin collecting so exciting, because a small 1-cent piece can sometimes reveal a much bigger story about American history and the art of coin production. Thanks for watching.